And as Chris just mentioned, it's not just snow you're going to have to worry about this weekend. We have some graupel too, but what is graupel? Meteorologist Matt Gray is here to explain. Matt.
Yeah, it's an interesting little thing that we see quite a bit around here. If you take a poll, you ask people, what is this? You get a lot of different answers. Hail, some people would call it weird snow, snow pellets, corn snow, I've heard it called before. In the weather world, we call this graupel. So how do we get these fuzzy little balls of ice? Easiest way to do that? Well, we're seeing this pattern right now. Get a big dip in the jet stream come over us, really cools off the upper atmosphere. This creates a much bigger temperature difference between there and down here on the ground. And that causes air in the storm clouds to rise up faster. And this setup, as Chris mentioned, favors convective storms, tall storm clouds with intense precipitation, especially as that ground starts to heat up in the afternoon. That temperature difference gets even higher than it does in the morning. So we do need a little bit of warm air for this graupel to show up too. Not so deep that everything melts into rain on the way down, but not so shallow that we would just end up with snow that would melt quickly. Now, here's the setup of how graupel actually forms up in those clouds. The base of the cloud's mostly made up of supercooled water. It's below 32 degrees, but it's not frozen yet until it hits something, and then it'll snap, freeze on contact. Great example, we get freezing fog all the time. We get that ice buildup in the clouds, especially places like the West Plains. We see that all the time. In this case, supercooled water droplets, they're freezing out of snow crystals, forming up higher in the tops of those clouds. And this creates a fuzzy ball of ice. You can see that microscope view there on the far side of your screen. Lots of air pockets inside. And that is why graupel, it's pretty easy to squish with your hand, but it's also hard enough that it creates a little tink-tink sound when it hits the ground. So you know something's going on out there. In the inland Northwest, you're most likely to see graupel anywhere between October and April, just depending on the temperatures. In early spring, well, this is definitely one of the times that we see that show up most often.